Let me hit you with a question. Have you ever done the 3 a.m. test? Where you're not sleeping, you're not scrolling, you're just awake, staring at the ceiling. And your brain starts running what-if disasters like it's a full-time job. What if the car breaks down? What if my kid gets sick? What if I get sick? What if I lose my job and the bills keep showing up like nothing happened? That's not overthinking. That's your nervous system trying to protect you. And I want you to hear this clearly. The first $10,000 isn't just a financial milestone. It's a psychological switch. It's the moment you stop living like every surprise is a life-ending event. Because for most people, $10,000 is the amount that turns a financial catastrophe into a mild annoyance. Not fun, not painless, but survivable. That's the shift. Panic to mild annoyance. And if you've never had that cushion, you don't realize how much of your personality is actually just stress.
Talk about what it feels like when you don't have that cushion, when you're at zero. People think being broke is only about the money. It's not. It's about the mental load. It's the grocery store math. You're standing in an aisle staring at cereal, and it's not which one do I want, it's which one can I get away with. Name brand, generic, big box that's cheaper per ounce but costs more today, or the small box that's overpriced but won't overdraft you. And you do that calculation for everything. Not once, all day. Then your friends invite you out. Hey, we're doing dinner, it's like $25. And you want to go. You need to go. You're lonely, you're tired, you want to feel normal, but you hit them with the greatest hits of broke culture. I'm tired. I'm being healthy. I've got a lot going on. I'm saving money. No, you're not saving. You're surviving. That's what having no buffer does. It forces you to play defense with money every single day. And when you live in defense long enough, your brain starts treating life as a threat environment, because it is.
Here's the big idea. There are two money realities. Survival mode. Can I make it to payday? If this bill hits, what do I skip? If I get sick, I'm cooked. If the car breaks, that's it. Growth mode. How do I increase my income? What skills should I build? What do I want my life to look like next year? What opportunities am I ignoring because I'm scared? And the brutal truth is, most people never get to growth mode. Not because they're lazy, not because they're dumb, but because survival mode is loud. Survival mode doesn't whisper. Survival mode screams. And that screaming is why your brain can't plan.
Now, let's get scientific, but I'll keep it human. When you're constantly under financial strain, your stress response stays activated. That means more cortisol, more tension, more on-edge energy. You may not call it cortisol, you just call it exhaustion. Research on financial strain shows it links to stress biology through daily emotional burden, more negative affect, less positive affect, and that pathway is associated with increased cortisol output. And here's where it gets real. Money stress doesn't just make you anxious, it makes you mentally tired. That's decision fatigue. Because when you're broke, you don't make 10 decisions a day. You make 50 survival calculations. Can I put this on a card? If I pay this now, what bounces? Can I risk this bill being late? Do I buy the cheap version that breaks or the good one I can't afford? That constant cognitive load is not a mindset. It's measurable. There's a famous line of research showing that poverty-related concerns consume mental bandwidth and reduce performance on unrelated cognitive tasks, meaning scarcity eats attention and brain power. So when you build the first serious buffer, when you hit 10K, your brain finally gets a signal it hasn't gotten in a long time. We're safe enough to think. That's the beginning of cortisol reduction, and it's the beginning of clarity.
Let me tell you something that sounds simple, but it's everything. The best part of having $10,000 isn't spending it. It's the fact that you could. It's waking up and realizing, if something happens, I won't fall apart. That changes how you move. That's walking away money. And I don't mean you walk away from your job tomorrow like you're a billionaire. I mean you walk away from being disrespected, being underpaid, accepting the first bad option out of fear, letting people push you around because you need them. It's not arrogance, it's stability. And stability creates courage. Courage to finally ask for the raise. Courage to interview for the job you want. Courage to invest in yourself without feeling like you're gambling with rent.
Let's do the brutal math that makes $10,000 feel like armor. Most emergencies are not, my life is over. They're, my life is expensive. Car repairs, medical bills, travel for a family emergency, a sudden gap in income. The St. Louis Fed gives a concrete example. Average car repair cost $838, citing Kelley Blue Book, and explains how many adults would struggle even with the $400 surprise expense, often relying on borrowing, selling something, or being unable to pay. So when you have $10,000, you're not rich, you're harder to knock over. You become effectively immune to the most common financial derailments, not because they don't happen, but because they don't destroy you. And when the bigger one happens, job loss, most mainstream guidance says you want 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in an emergency fund. Fidelity explicitly says start with $1,000, then aim for 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. NerdWallet echoes the same 3 to 6 months rule of thumb. The St. Louis Fed article repeats the same recommendation. For a lot of households, $10,000 represents exactly that. Breathing room. Not forever, not luxury, but time. And time is what panic steals from you. Here's where the story changes. At 0, every dollar is spoken for. At 10K, you finally have a little margin. And margin creates opportunities broke people can't touch. Maybe it's a $2,000 course that bumps your salary. Maybe it's a certification. Maybe it's a tool you need to freelance. Maybe it's a business experiment you can finally try without risking eviction. And this is the part nobody tells you. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys options. And options lower fear. And lower fear changes your posture, your voice, your negotiation, your decisions. That's the confidence factor. You stop sounding desperate because you're not desperate. And that right there is survival mode versus growth mode. Let me end with the moment that sneaks up on people. It's not the bank app. It's not the number. It's not the milestone post. It's a random Tuesday in a grocery store. You're walking the aisles and you realize you can buy what you want to eat, not just what you can afford to eat. You want the better fruit? Cool. You want the name brand? Fine. You want to try something new? No anxiety. And for a second, you feel something that's hard to describe. It's relief, mixed with sadness, because you realize you've been carrying this invisible weight for years, making everything smaller, saying no to life in tiny ways, not because you didn't want joy, but because you couldn't risk it. That's when people realize the first $10,000 didn't just change their finances, it changed their nervous system. So here's what I want you to do next. Stop obsessing over the full $10,000. Start obsessing over becoming the kind of person who saves. Because the most powerful part isn't the amount, it's the identity shift. Start with $25 to $50 a month. Automate it. Make it boring. Make it consistent. because every deposit is you telling your brain, we're not helpless, we're building protection, we're becoming stable. And eventually, you wake up and realize that the 3 a.m. disaster movie doesn't hit the same anymore. Not because life stopped happening, but because you built the cushion that turns panic to mild annoyance.